Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Katie Thomson, co-founder and CEO of Square Baby. I'm a registered dietitian. I have two kiddos, a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. So I have been where you are and created Square Baby to solve for all the pain points I felt when giving my kiddos nutrition, trying to understand how to feed them the right amount of the right foods each day. And just exactly, what they needed at each stage of development. Like any parent, I wanted so badly to help him grow up to be an adventurous eater and have, a healthy appetite for good foods and to prevent that pickiness that we're all so fearful of. And so started Square Baby to really set out and create a solution. I cruised the baby food aisles as a very overwhelmed, busy mom, as we all felt. And what I found was there were so many misleadingly marketed products, so many fruit heavy purees, foods that I felt were lacking protein and healthy fats, and especially green veggies. And this really just started a fire in me. And so I left my job. At the time I was working at Starbucks as the first nutritionist there, a job that I love very much. But once I kind of realized that the baby food industry had a lot to be desired and a lot to be solved, I left that job at Starbucks to figure out how I could create the solution for parents. Today, we're going to go over a lot of the main questions we hear from our families and that we know that pediatricians are being asked in their offices, and hopefully answers many of your questions about how to introduce solids and what some of the first foods and flavors should be, and many questions around baby-led weaning and purees, allergen introduction. But please do type into the chat and message and ask questions. And if I am not going to get to it with the planned kind of agenda and the slides, I'm so happy to answer questions at the end to make sure that we provide the best experience for everyone and get to all your questions. Okay. So the first question is, how do I know my baby is ready for solids? What we know is that, baby needs to be ready to sit up in a chair. Sounds very self-explanatory, right? They need to be able to hold their head up, sit in a bumbo seat or a high chair, and really have that physical strength to be able to hold themselves up. Again, might sound pretty obvious, but they're just learning spoon skills at this time. Babies have been, just either drinking breast milk or sucking from a bottle. They have not yet learned how to take food from a spoon. So these are some of those early skills that you're going to help your baby through, which is to just, physically take food from the spoon, move that food to the back of their mouth and be able to swallow. Oftentimes with those first bites, you might see a little bit of gagging, or they'll push the food out and kind of dribble it down their chin. That's very normal. Just keep trying. Interest in food. So you might have had this experience where your little one's got an eye on your guacamole, or wants to take a bite out of that chicken wing or whatever it is that you're eating. But certainly an interest in food is a very good sign that your baby is ready to transition into solids. And then there are some key kind of developmental milestones that the Academy of Pediatrics recommends. So that is doubling their birth weight, which is about 13 pounds, and about 6 months of age. So right now the AAP recommends exclusively breastfeeding for the first 6 months. We know that, not every parent is able to do that. So I would look around 4 to 6 months. Most babies are ready to introduce solids kind of based on these milestones that we see above, with the interest in the spoon skills and the ability to sit up. Okay, now I'm going to show you my next slide, which shocks most people, and certainly is something that really created that fire in me to create a better solution for parents. Okay, so did you know that many baby foods have the same nutrition facts panel, very similar nutrition profile as a bowl of Lucky Charms? This is how surprised I was. So let's kind of take a little bit of a deeper look into this. So certainly we know that Lucky Charms is full of empty nutrition, right? It's grains and sugar and not offering you a lot. But when you look at past the past the packaging, past the pictures, past the name, past all the colors that you're seeing marketed at you in the baby food aisle, and you take a deeper look into the nutrition profile, what you can see here with these 3 different products that are marketed as avocado-based products, you'll see that actually the sugar is a main contributor here. And that's because with the 3 pouches that you see, fruit is a main ingredient, whether it's apples or pineapple or banana. And not that fruit is an unhealthy ingredient at all. We all know how healthy fruit is as part of a balanced diet. But when we as parents are looking for a balanced option, and when we are hoping to give our kiddo a balanced meal and green veggies and healthy fats and this premium, luscious avocado, and then we find that actually we're very, often giving them, as fruit heavy puree, we feel a little bit duped by that marketing, and that's pretty disappointing. As parents, we are busy, we are cruising the aisles of the grocery store oftentimes, very, very quickly. We don't always have the time to flip over and read every single package. So I think it's important to really quickly be able to look through, the sugar levels is a really key indicator, as well as the ingredient statement, to really see what's in this pouch, this container, this jar. What really am I feeding my baby? Is it a lot of avocado, or is it, a lot of other foods with just a kind of a sprinkling of avocado? And you'll kind of see our solution here. Our avocado greens was, the solution to the fruit heavy version of this. It's very thick and guacamole-like. It gives 6 grams of healthy fats and only 1 gram of sugar, which is very telling that it's actually, high in avocado and green beans and very low in sugar. Okay, so the label, again, just looking through the ingredient statement is a really easy way to also understand, what's in each baby food. So kind of looking at the ingredient statement for each of those 3 competitor products, you see pineapple and banana in the Wild Rumpus avocado, and you see apples as a main ingredient in the 2 other, the plum and the Happy Baby. I do enjoy at least Happy Baby and plum are being very transparent in the naming of their products, calling them apple spinach and apple kale and avocado. But certainly as parents, it's nice to be able to flip over that package and really look at that ingredient statement to see where avocado lies in the ingredient statement. Our product has green beans and avocado as its main ingredient, and I think that shows. Okay, so in general, we're looking for balanced nutrition. Again, this is pretty simple and straightforward, but just as we think about what the My Plate or the old food pyramid used to show us, it's fruits and veggies as half of your plate, proteins, healthy fats, whole grains, to really give that balanced nutrition that you're looking for, and to make sure that their energy levels, they're not spiking in blood sugar, that they have very even energy levels. I'm going to take you through a few of our meals that kind of just showcase some of the early nutrients that we're looking for in infant solid introduction, as well as just taking a look at the bright colors and the variety of foods and the variety of proteins and healthy fats. So with as we take our approach to balanced nutrition, we're always going to offer veggies, fruits, grains, and protein. We're offering whole milk Greek yogurt here in this meal for probiotics and healthy fats and calcium and vitamin D that are so essential for bone and teeth development very early. And then obviously berries and beets, high in antioxidants, vitamin C. Our avocado greens product we just talked about has great plant-based proteins with white beans, healthy fats, green veggies, coconut shrimp fried rice. So many people, and actually I didn't know this for quite a while, as just to admit, but eggs are very rich in choline, and choline is a vitamin that I don't feel like is talked about as much as the vitamin D and calcium and the iron that we hear so much about. But choline is really essential for brain development, and so eggs are often recommended as a great first food because of they're rich in vitamins and minerals, including choline, but also healthy fats and protein. Also is a great way to introduce allergens early. Green veggies. So we know that only 10% of kids are consuming the recommended amount of veggies that they should each day, and 30% of toddlers are eating less than one serving of veggies per day. And we know that early, getting kiddos to like veggies early and raising little veggie lovers is a challenge, right? It comes through this early introduction of vegetables and really kind of committing to offering a variety of foods. But we know that these early habits really track into adulthood, and especially green veggies are helpful in decreasing the risk of chronic disease, cancer, obesity down the road. So really showcasing meals that aren't, hiding those vegetables, but really offering, the bitter taste of broccoli, and other green veggies. Salmon mash is another one of our meals that has obviously the omega-3s and healthy fats from salmon and protein, as well as cauliflower and sweet potato, peas and avocado oil. And then our apple curry chicken. This is one of my favorite products. I always just want to grab that piece of chicken. It looks so good. But all of our meals are very veggie forward. So even though this is an apple curry chicken and there is, a hint of sweetness from apples, it's very celebrated in this product. The main ingredient here is fresh steamed zucchini. And we also utilize a chicken bone broth. One of the pain points I felt when feeding my kiddo, not only was it really hard to find fresh meals on the market, but also proteins beyond just the plant-based proteins. I found it really hard to find chicken products that weren't really gross, shelf-stable, chicken goo from the jar. And so these meals really offer a variety of proteins beyond just the beans and lentils. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was pellet development. This is, answering that question of how do I raise an adventurous eater? How do I prevent that pickiness? It's very, very easy as a parent. We've felt this from having infants to then having toddlers who become very strong-willed. And then kids and older kids. I have a 12-year-old who, certainly if he doesn't feel like eating something, it's a lot harder to get a 12-year-old to eat something than an infant. But this pellet development is really critical during these early months. So there's actually this flavor window, this acceptance time between 4 and 7 months. So their very first bites, their very first months of eating baby food are when they are most accepting to new flavors and textures. So they might, turn their head and spit it out for the first 10 tries, and it might be really frustrating. I could experience that too with my second baby, who spit out food for the first 2 weeks and kind of refused everything. But lo and behold, if you do stick with it, they will learn to like these different foods and different textures. And it's so important to offer these to them early. So you're looking for healthy fats and herbs and spices. You can start to introduce curries and cinnamon and dal and all of these things that really start to mimic the foods that you're going to feed them later, so that they don't go from just eating peas and carrots and applesauce and, kind of more bland flavors to then, wanting, having them eat alongside you at the dinner table. So this pellet development time is really important. Again, also eating the rainbow sounds so simple, but we know that the most bright colors have the most antioxidants or the most nutrient rich. Certainly there are some exceptions in that cauliflower and, white beans and things that are naturally white like that are also very high in nutrients and antioxidants. But giving our kiddos a rainbow of foods, whether they're a baby or a toddler, thinking through what they've eaten in the day and making sure that you've tried to give them, foods from the different food groups in different colors really helps to know that they've gotten a variety of nutrients. Okay, so allergen introduction has become such a main topic. There's new research that has led recommendations to change recently. When I had my first baby 12 years ago, the recommendation certainly was do not give your baby a peanut, eggs, milk, anything until at least the age of 1. We felt like we were going to kill our child if, he had a taste of these foods prior to their 1 year birthday. But they're, that's really, I think, create a lot of fear in parents. And of course, knowing that food allergies are absolutely on the rise. And we've seen that with, our school age children and how many kiddos, cannot have the peanuts and the tree nuts and have very severe food allergies that can be very scary. Now we know through recent research, like the LEAP, Petite, and EAT studies, that early allergen introduction, so as early as 4 to 6 months, we can be giving our babies allergens like peanuts and tree nuts and eggs and milk and fish to prevent food allergies by up to 80%. So we're really proud at Square Baby to have the only comprehensive allergen introduction menu. So we have foods like peanut pumpkin pie and almond butter and banana, salmon mash, that introduce those allergens one at a time and offer, that early allergen introduction in a simple way. All right. Perhaps the biggest hot topic that we certainly noticed over the last couple of years is purees versus baby-led weaning. And we like to say purees and baby-led weaning, because even though we are a company that has 23 different pureed meals on our menu, we absolutely support baby-led weaning. With my 2 kids, I had 2 very different experiences. One that could take those table foods a little bit earlier, and then I could give, little peas to, and one that choked so often that we were, had to do the Heimlich and had all those scary parenting moments. And so we leaned a lot more on purees for the kiddo that was not ready for some of those whole foods quite yet. I also think about how, oftentimes when we're doing baby-led weaning and we're offering kids a whole food, perhaps, it's one singular ingredient, whether it's, a piece of chicken or a pea or, a softened carrot or something. And we know that, we want to offer as much variety in foods in these early months. And so a puree can really be helpful in offering them, a bunch of different types of food and ingredients in one bite. I also experienced with my own kiddos that it was a lot easier to get the food actually in them, to swallow the food in a puree format. So providing a spoon in one hand where I'm feeding him the salmon mash or the greenie baby, and then offering him something to play with, where he's practicing with his, hand-eye coordination and getting the food, into his mouth, and really experiencing the food that I think is so important in these early stages. So certainly I think that this does not need to be an us versus them, a pick a side moment. If you ask, most pediatricians and dietitians, and even, many moms will tell you, like anything, we should do what's best, what we feel is best for our baby, and what they're taking too well, and think about their whole nutrition and the food that they're actually taking in. And, just make sure that this experience is fun for you as well. I know that babies really, they feel our energy, right? If we're stressed, if we're unhappy, if we're, we've tried with this puree, or we've tried with these chunks of food and the baby's not taking to it and we're getting frustrated, they read into that too. And they feel that energy. So I think it's really important that we as parents do, what is right for us and for our family and for our own babe, and not feel as though we need to, pick a lane, pick a side. You can also think about how purees can be utilized in a lot of different ways. So they can be used as a parfait. You can make a popsicle out of them. You can have them as a dip or a sauce or a spread. You can create, these little energy balls here on the bottom with our little carrot puree. There are a lot of creative ways in which we can think about how to use purees in a baby-led weaning lifestyle. Okay. All right, so that was the main part of my discussion today. I did want to let you guys know about where we are with Square Baby. So first of all, we wanted to offer a 20% discount on all first orders with the SoCal Moms 20 discount code, but also to give you a update in that we are working on a national launch right now. We have been a regional brand for the last 3 years and are very excited to be launching nationally. So we're actually in a couple of days going to be switching over to a new website that we're really excited about, and only going to have a wait list because we're actually have run out of our food made in our commercial kitchen. We outgrew that facility, which is a bummer, but also very exciting to be scaling up, having a national reach versus just a Bay Area, a West Coast distribution. But that will mean that for the next several months, as we scale into our new manufacturing facility and our new packaging, that we are going to have just a wait list, as we will not have meals, sadly, for the next handful of months. So we hope that you'll keep in touch with us. Track us at Square Baby Food on Instagram. Reach out, hello@squarebabyfood, with any questions. Come to our website, join our wait list, and certainly reach out. We are always here as a resource. My co-founder and I, Kendall, have been customer service for the last 3 years. We love nothing more than helping our families out, answering questions, whether it's about nutrition or introducing solids or finding the right menu items for your babe. So please do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, so I'm going to cruise. I have not been paying any attention to the to the Q&A and the chat. So now I'm going to read those and make sure that I've kind of gotten to the Square Baby throughout. Oh, yes. So does Square Baby deliver throughout the US? So we are about to, in early 2022, we will be national with our purees. We're very excited about that. Wondering about the role of specialized baby food as opposed to feeding maybe small bits of what adults are eating. So I think that we covered that through the baby-led weaning. Again, I don't think this is a one size fits all, one rule fits all. I think what we're looking at from introducing solids, from raising a healthy eater, I think there's so many things about baby-led weaning that are important, which are making sure that the child really experiences the food. When your baby is just sucking through a pouch and only has one kind of texture, they're really not learning, to love food and all that it has to offer, right? They're learning how to suck from a pouch, and that's not really, going to help them transition into table food. So, certainly purees can be a really helpful part of giving your baby the nutrition that they need, but thinking about how your kids can experience touch, play with the food, get messy, smell it, see it, play with it. All those things are really, really important in their overall kind of relationship with food. When can you give your babies honey? I think that's still age 1, and I can, I'm 99% sure, and that's because of the botulism. So this is not an allergen introduction. This is more about the safety of honey from a botulism standpoint. Okay, so I have an allergy to peanuts. Is there any evidence that suggests my baby will also have an allergy? Yes. So while certainly food allergies do have a hereditary component, but not always, right? So it's not a given. I would absolutely, with a pre-existing allergy yourself, I would reach out to an allergist specifically, and they might be able to help with other blood tests and things. They will very likely recommend that early allergen introduction is important. But I would recommend reaching out to a pediatrician and an allergist with that question. See a video about how small baby throats are and freaked me out about introducing solids. Purees really sound like a great idea to start. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think, again, this isn't an either or with baby-led weaning. I think that there are ways in which we can incorporate all of these different textures into our baby's diet. And then, okay, since I haven't had my baby yet, I'm just wondering what the thoughts are about half breastfeed and half baby foods after the first 6 months. Okay, so another great question for a pediatrician. I like to, I think that's just always an important caveat, that with anything, it's so important to stay close to our own pediatrician about your baby's milestones and their growth and their readiness for solids. But certainly, as we're they call it weaning for a reason, which is it's not as though we stop breast milk and go straight to food. With their very first bites of solid foods, your baby is still absolutely having breast milk formula, etc. And it takes a lot of pressure off of food as their, the mainstay of their diet. It's not, right. It's okay in those first, weeks, that if all they can get down is a spoonful of this and a spoonful of that, that's okay. They're still relying heavily on breast milk or formula for their main nutrition, but you do want to introduce them to a lot of different foods at this time for more of a flavor development, flavor acceptance, early allergen introduction, and just kind of getting them ready for solids to transition to more of the mainstay of their diet. So there are some great guides on the AAP website, healthychildren.org, that can kind of walk you through some of the expectations of how much breast milk should my baby have a day, what is recommended feeding schedules, et cetera, that can be really, really helpful as you transition. Any added salt or added sugar? Absolutely not. And that's a great question. All of our meals are made from whole foods. The only sugar is from fruits and veggies themselves. There's no added sugar. I think that is so important. Fruit is deliciously sweet enough on its own. We don't need to have added sugar in our baby food at all. And salt as well. Actually, we don't have any salts in our baby food. We find that the natural flavors of spices really kind of elevate some of those early flavor development and profiles. So having something like curry, cinnamon, cardamom, all these nutmegs and other spices really kind of take the place of what we as adults crave in salt. And also just knowing that, we are, as adults, we have grown to be accustomed to salt and sugar, which makes us crave it more and makes our tolerance for it higher. So babies really do not need, added salt and sugar in their foods to like the flavor of it, which is good. What veggies are appropriate to start with besides avocado? Well, I would just think about digestion. That's the only caveat here, is you wouldn't want to give your baby too much of something that might be really gassy in the beginning. So certainly broccoli and cauliflower are kind of known to be gassier vegetables, cruciferous vegetables. But certainly you can give your baby broccoli in some of their first bites. I just wouldn't give them 4 ounces of broccoli if they kind of tend to be gassier. That's not going to do any damage, but you might have a crying gassy baby. So I would think about things that are a little easier to digest, with carrots and sweet potatoes and squashes, zucchini, spinach, other green veggies, green beans, and then a little bit of those cauliflower and broccoli. For us, and how we have developed our menu, we don't introduce cauliflower and broccoli as a main veggie until 8 months, because it allows their tummies to just grow a little bit and get a little bit more ready for those cruciferous vegetables. Thanks, Sharon. Yes, you're exactly right. Would beans be considered gas producing for babies? So yes. So we know that lentils are the easiest to digest bean or legume. So we have a sprouted green lentil in our 6+ month vegan meals, and both being a lentil as well as the fact that it's sprouted actually makes it easier to digest, because it's in the sprouting process has gotten rid of some of the phytic acid that makes some of these beans harder to digest. But I wouldn't say do not give your baby beans until they're 8 months. I would just, similar to the broccoli, I would make sure that you're giving them a balanced meal, that you're offering them other foods than just those beans, and just pay attention. There's some babies that might be totally fine with it and cruise right through, and others. My first child was a totally gassy baby, and gosh, he would love that I'm telling you that now that he's like almost 13. But with anything, just listen to your own babe and take some of that pressure off yourself. Beans are a great early food for babies, just not too much. When introducing period foods, do you recommend starting with one food for a certain period of time, or is it okay? Oh, this is a great question. So it used to be, from an allergen introduction standpoint, I think we only have 1 minute left too, so I'm just going to wrap this up. They used to say, give your baby one food, wait 3 days, then give them another food. You do not need to do that with fruits, veggies, low allergenic potential foods. You actually want to be doing the opposite, because if you think about, if you were to wait 3 days, you could only introduce, like 10 different ingredients, 10 different foods in a whole month. But we also know how important it is to give our baby a variety, and that this flavor acceptance window when they're going to learn to like new foods is really critical. So it's absolutely okay to be giving your kids combinations of foods very early. I would just wait on things like, I would isolate the peanut, right? And say, okay, I'm going to give my baby peanuts and no other allergens, so that if he has a reaction, if he has, something that you want to look out for, then you can isolate it to that allergen. One more thing on allergens that I do want to say that I learned recently is that before the age of 12 months is actually the safest time to introduce allergen, or because their allergy response is much milder. So they are very, very unlikely to have an anaphylactic response before the age of 12 months. So even though we're all freaked out as heck to give our baby their very first peanut, and maybe we do it right before we walk into the pediatrician's office, which is totally fine and normal, just know that if you do this early, they are less likely to have a strong reaction if they're going to have a reaction. Okay. Feel free to reach out at hello@squarebaby.com, and it'll come straight to my phone. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have. Thank you for joining me and dealing with my not so great technical capabilities. I'm just really excited to be here today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Tracy.